It is 6:01 p.m. I'd like to call this meeting of the Old Saybrook Zoning Board of Appeals to order. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. People may be wondering why I'm acting as chair. It's because our actual chair is not able to make it tonight, and our vice chair is not able physically to make it tonight. So I've been asked to step in. Roll call, Kevin Danby here. Is Deneen here? Mr. Jesus, Andrew Rocky and Chubb Wilcox, acting as ineffectual as so far chair.
Jonathan.
And then, oh yes, Jonathan Miles, nice to see you. We start with the continued public hearing in number 25/26-8C. A request for a variance for paragraphs 10.7.1, 10.7.2, 24.5.1, 24.5.3, 24.6.1, 24.6.2, all pertaining to 35 Heartlands Drive, Old Saybrook. Who will be presenting on behalf of the applicants?
I will, I'm Gail Manasseh.
How do you do it? Come, take a seat up here.
My husband Ken.
I'm Kevin.
Ed Casella usually represents us, but he's not here, so I'm representing Ed, who represents us.
We have all sorts of fill-ins.
There's no way I can do Ed, I can only do Gail. And we have these.
Yeah, the hard copies.
They can be passed those.
Yeah.
You need a minute with that, or?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Basically, just looking at the zoning part. Everyone drop their pencil in the room.
We need, you to see two people in place of Chuck and, Aaron when we get done. to seat them, who's being seated for
Oh,
them.
yes.
Okay.
Everyone ready? Seated for this will be myself, Mr. Danby, Mr. Ladd, Laurie Deneen, and Jonathan Miles. Jonathan, you ready?
Ready when you are, Chad.
Okay.
So,
Please.
okay. At the October meeting of the zoning board of appeals, I requested that we modify plans for the renovation of our house. So it met the 40% gross floor area. Just using the house parcel of 5,308 square feet and not including the 660 square foot lot across the street. In the updated plans, you can see that we reduced the square footage by 192 square feet. It is now 2,115 square feet, which is 39.8% and complies with the gross floor area requirement. On the updated plans, the breakdown of the square footage is 308 square foot garage and 1,807 for the house. The previous plan had 2,307 square feet and was at 43.5%. With the changes, including the reduction of the porch, the coverage is reduced to 31.8%. The support of our plans is evidenced by 8 letters of support from the community, 2 neighbors who are online tonight, I think, and 2 others who are in attendance. If you'd like, I can read the letters. That's up to you.
I think if you'd like them to be part of the record, you should do that.
All right.
Are these new letters or,
These are letters previously, because it's a summer community.
but they were read into the record last month?
No, they were not. They were given to you.
I've read them all. but
Okay.
I didn't know if, I think it's a great idea to read them into the
You
record.
do? Okay, then I shall. All right, from Deborah and Jeff Rubel of 28 Gates Road. To whom it may concern, we live a few homes from the Bonasics who reside at 35 Heartlands Drive. Gail and her family have not always just maintained their home, but have added beauty and charm of the Cornfield Point to the Cornfield Point community. Gail and Ken have shared their renovation plans with us. Upon review, we fully support this project. We feel it will further enhance the aesthetic look and value of the property and neighborhood. Sincerely, Deborah and Jeffrey Rubel. And from Elizabeth Polisi, dear Chris, I'm writing to you to express support for Gail and Ken's renovation of their property, 35 Heartlands Drive. Gail reviewed the plans with me recently. Their design and layout looks wonderful, conforming with the neighborhood, including recent renovations on Heartlands Drive. The added space enables them to modernize and support their goals for year-round living in Cornfield Point. They have my full support for their plans for renovation. Best regards, Liz Polisi. And from Francis Worth, otherwise known to us as Chip. To whom it may concern, my name is Francis Worth. My wife and I live at 34 Gates Road, Old Saybrook, Connecticut. Recently, our neighbor Gail Vanasic shared with my wife and I plans of the proposed renovation at their home at 35 Heartlands Drive. We think the plans were thoughtfully done and are in favor of the proposed renovation to their home. We look forward to seeing the completed project and feel it will be a great addition to our neighborhood. Thank you for taking this letter into consideration in your decision-making process at the meeting. Sincerely, Francis and Maria Worth. This one is from Scott and Pamela Baranowski. We are writing in support of our neighbors Gail and Ken Vanasek and their request for a variance of 35 Heartlands Drive. They have thoroughly explained and shared with us the proposed changes. We strongly believe that this will have no negative effect on our neighborhood and will instead enhance our beautiful, quaint community. As our houses' location and proximity to one another make us the most impacted, that does not change one bit our unwavering support for their project, regardless of what setbacks or encroachments are necessary. Kindly, Scott and Pamela Karamowski. And from Bob Cody, to whom it may concern, I am writing this letter in support of the proposed renovation of 35 Heartlands Drive. It's in keeping with the neighborhood and I have no objection to their proposed renovation. From David Hick. My grandfather built our home back in 1945. Since I was a kid, I've spent many of my summers at our family home on 37 Heartlands Drive in Cornfield Point. I was fortunate enough to have bought the property from my father and his siblings 8 years ago. I am a direct neighbor to Gail and Ken Vanasek. I reviewed their plans and they have our full support. I believe the plans are in keeping with the changes of the rest of the neighborhood. This one is from Linda Longobardi. Hi, my name is Linda Longobardi. I've lived on Gates Road for approximately 60 years. During that time, I can honestly say that my neighbors on the street take exceptional care of their homes and yards. I've seen the Vanasek's plans and I am in full support of said plan. I believe this addition will add to the value of this beautiful neighborhood. Thank you, best, Linda Longobardi. And from Heidi Pascucci, to whom it may concern, the Del Giorno family and the Ziegler family, my maiden name, have been next door neighbors and best friends since before I was even born. And I am thrilled to see that Gail and Ken have decided to make their beloved family summer home into a full season residence. As much as the Ziegler residence has become a staple remembrance of the best summer days a kid could ask for, new wonderful memories come with change. I reviewed the plans with Gail and Ken, and I believe the renovations will be stunning. It is always bittersweet to take something that you love so dearly and add those most important touches to make it now your own. Plus, I'm sure that without my 75-foot tall tree as a possible deterrent in their decision to make these renovations, our friendship has grown stronger. I wish all the best for Gail and Ken, and I fully support them in any way I can. All the best. Heidi Pascucci. I just want to sum up that as a 65-year resident of Cornfield Point, our ties to the community are strong. We want our renovation to comply with the ZBA requirement. We also want our renovation to enhance the community and be embraced by our neighbors. And I think it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak? Let's start with anyone wishing to speak against the application. Seeing none, is there anyone online who would like to speak against the application? If so, raise your hand. Are there any?
There's someone.
There are two. They're Barbara and Pam.
This is to speak against the application.
Yes.
So if you want to speak in favor of it, wait until I call that, okay? All right. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of the application in the live audience? And now, is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of the application in the virtual audience? If so, please raise your hand now.
Barbara? Yes, I am fully in favor of the plan that the Bonaseks would like to do. We've been neighbors with Gail all our lives. In fact, my middle name is Gail after Gail. And they are wonderful members of the Cornfield Point community. And I've seen the plans and am in full support.
Thank you. Anyone else in the virtual audience? Please raise your hand now. Anyone? You're not still on, Mike. Okay. At this point, I would like to close the presentation and move to deliberation and action. Unless there are questions of the applicant.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would be honored to make a motion to approve 25/26-8C. The concerns that the board had last month have been well taken care of. Regarding why should this variance be granted? Well, there's actually a reduction in nonconformity, even though it's a small lot. They're taking this from 33.1 to 32.7. And you know, we all know that on these small lots, every little bit helps. And the concern last month by some that the request for 43.5% has been reduced to 39.8%. In addition, it's been reviewed by Brad and they've approved it, as well as DEEP finds it consistent with what they're looking for. And I'm going to also speak about the new drawings that were submitted this evening. One is a survey from Angus McDonald, which has been updated as of 11/11/25. And the architectural drawings from Greg A. Liberte, and with a revision on November 5th, 2025.
And would you identify, if you could, the all of the reductions in nonconformities?
A lot of paper here.
No, they're right on the Angus McDonald chart.
Yeah, I actually have them here. Are you speaking about,
The setbacks.
I can do that.
Well, why don't I just go ahead and do it?
Oh, you're out of right in front of you there.
Okay, may I make a friendly amendment?
Yes, you can.
The rear property line setback has been reduced from 20.6 to 8, I'm sorry, it's gone from 20.6 to 18.6. The it's 5.1 to 6.1, 5.1 to 6.1. That's it on the setbacks.
Just one other thing I want to add, to the overwhelming support of the neighbors is, means a lot to all of us too.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you. Susan. I'm so sure, but don't tell them.
And I'd like to reopen the continued public hearing on 25/26-9C. David P. and Lisa Zetchel, seeking a variance of paragraphs 10.8.2, 24.5.3, 24.3.1, 24.6.2. Respecting 14C Lane, Old Saybrook. Who will be presenting?
Good evening, Attorney Marjorie Shansky for the specials, and I'm here with Gianna Bradford, who's the architectural designer, and with Michael Ott, the civil engineer. He's online, I believe.
He is, he's in a panelist now. Right, in the panelist section here.
Great. Thank you. Since last we met, we have some additional revision to the application, recalculation of the parameters that are set forth on the zoning chart that we will share with you. This variance request is predicated on reduction and elimination of nonconformities. And in my revised letter, which was sent in on election day, The zoning chart starts at the bottom of page 1. Obviously, the minimum lot area is non-conforming and unchanging. And then the next 3 dimensions are conforming as is. The maximum height is 35 feet. The proposed height is 34.4 feet, which is conforming. We are reducing the street line setback and increasing the street line setback, which eliminates an existing nonconformity. The only setback that is remaining unchanged is the other, in your regulation called the other property line setback, staying at 8.6. I explained at the last meeting, both under the statutory right to reconstruct a conforming house, a non-conforming house, and to the extent this is a smaller non-conforming house, that the applicant has the ability to retain that non-conforming setback. And I would also say that in the many letters that the board has received from neighborhood support, if you recall, last month, appended to my original letter, Exhibit A, showed a map of the 7 properties that had written letters, and Mr. Fair, though they were not read into the record, they are part of the record by their submission and existence, but if the chair would prefer, I have copies of all of them, and I'm pleased to read them into the record, if that's your preference.
It's not mine, but if any other chair, any other.
And there are 2 more, which I would like to give copies into the record this evening, adding, so in addition to the map support that I showed in my letter last month, had the properties at 26 C Lane, 30 C Lane, and 2, I think, C Lane.
If those are new, I think you should read them into the record.
All right, these are the new ones, and I shall read them into the record. Thank you.
2.
Pardon me?
2 was the one that came in late last time. It's the phone.
Yeah. So this is from Robert and Sally Loselevsky, with apologies to them. Dear members of the Old Saybrook Zoning Board, we are writing as residents and neighbors in support of the renovation plans for 14 C Lane submitted by our neighbors Dave and Lisa Seshel. We have had the pleasure of living near them for several years and have always found them to be considerate and responsible members of our Cornfield Point community. They have always maintained their property in a meticulous manner. Although their current house is lovely, we do understand the need for a home that is more functional and better suited for year-round living. It is to everyone's benefit that they become full-time residents here. We are confident the proposed renovations will not only enhance the appearance of their home, but will also improve the overall character and value of our neighborhood. There's nothing about their plans that would not add charm to our community. We have no concerns regarding noise, disruption, or any potential negative effects, and we believe that they are committed to completing the renovations in a timely and respectful manner. We strongly encourage the zoning board to approve their renovation plans. If you have any questions or require further information, please feel free to contact us, Robert and Sally Yoselevsky. And then the
Can I
other
just-
letter that I will read from Kai and Rich Cohen.
Nancy, I know it's valuable to read all of this into the record, but Attorney Bamonte is here. We have a limited timeline with him, so I was wondering if we could read those in after,
After.
if that would be okay. He has to leave at 7 or before.
Okay,
7.
I mean, there is some wonderful linkage between this letter and 7 letters.
I'm sure you can point that out to us after the,
Yes, though I'm going to introduce the concept so it can percolate in your thinking. And that is that these neighbors have commended the Seshels for keeping the location of the house, which retains the waterfront view for people passing on the street to look through and to see the water, which is a coastal management value, a community value. And when the deed writes a letter that says we reviewed the file, which is in this file, and say that we have found this proposal to be consistent with coastal policies, there's linkage between what the neighbors are thinking and feeling, what the applicant is proposing, and their coastal consistency. Where do you want to go, Chris?
All right. Um. While we have the availability of counsel, I would like to take out of order, because I know he has other commitments as well this evening. And address the legal question that was raised at the last meeting regarding the third floor or not concern. I raised this last time because when I looked at the definition of a half story, I was struck by the language that a half story is, and I quote, a floor area enclosed by the roof rafters and exterior walls at an elevation of 6 feet, measured vertically above the attic floor joists, equal to not more than 50% of the floor area immediately below and under the same roof, close quote. If all that was talking about was a third floor that is not more than 50% of the floor immediately below it, it could have just said so. And there would have been no reason to talk about roof rafters and a vertical dimension of 6 feet to get to that area that you're counting as the 50%. So that was the reason for my concern, my question. I'd like counsel to address his understanding of the correct legal interpretation of this definition in our zoning code.
Sure, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everyone. Appreciate the flexibility here. I am multitasking this evening. So, but to answer the question, I think it's correct to, when looking at the regulations, first look at them. Us lawyers like to say based on the plain language, right? And Chubb, I think I hear some of what you're saying, reading the specific language of that. Well, what did they intend by not adding in certain limiting language or by including certain words and phrases? So, you're trying to conduct that analysis. Sometimes the plain language might not actually be so clear, right? So who makes the call? In our zoning world in Connecticut, in the land use law world, who makes the interpretation of a local zoning code? Now, that question really is answered by the zoning commission. They are the ones who pass the regs. They're the ones who implement the regs. They're the ones who have some intention behind what the regulations say when they adopt them. So really, it's what my understanding at this point is that you've had some input from Ms. Costa as staff for the town, also staff for, as we know, the zoning commission. And she's worked closely in implementing those regulations, and there's weight to staff interpretations of the zoning regulations. So I would say ultimately, yes, if the ZBA is in the context of an appeal where they're acting in a sort of quasi-judicial manner where they're interpreting a regulation that a ZEO also interpreted, and now there's an appeal of that ZEO action, there's some room for the ZBA to interpret there, but this is not that situation. What you have here is an application for 3 specific variances, and the question, as I understand it, arose when reviewing these plans, well, is this a third floor or is this something else? Is this a half floor under our regs? I understand the input that's been provided by staff is that this would be considered a half story. And so while that assessment might not line up with how you're reading the language, Chubb, I would just say, I think the courts do give weight to, in this sort of context, in a ZBA variance application, to input from staff as to what the zoning how those should actually be interpreted. Beyond that, I can't, as the town attorney, say, well, this is exactly the reason, because I don't know. I mean, it really is based on what the commission's intention is with that language. So I would defer to Chris, really as being able to give this body input, how that regulation is intended to be interpreted and how that lines up with what's in front of the board here.
Okay, so if I can sum that up, you're not offering an opinion on what the language in the zoning code means. You're offering a perspective of what the role of the staff in the zoning enforcement office has offered.
Correct.
I have not seen anything. Have you sent something to us today?
No, but I'm here
Oh, okay.
today. Or
Okay.
tonight, so that was, we discussed sending something, it didn't make it in. So the applicant's plan, you received the revised cross sections in your new packet.
I believe they came in. When did they come in?
Last week.
You have, I was in Bermuda last week, so I just picked it up today.
The new material should be included in there.
The Karen, Mr. Offensive.
What I saw were small scale cross sections.
Yes. So following the last ZBA meeting, I did watch the section of the video. And I can understand how it could be confusing because we don't allow for 3 stories, but it was called the 3rd floor and there was some back and forth as to what you call it. Doesn't really matter what you call it. You can call it a looking area, whatever it is. In my opinion, it meets the definition of a half story.
Because
Because if I could find that sheet,
This one?
like this here. No, the actual. The new materials. That's okay.
this was your good.
Yes. Did you have the roof cross section? That's.
Last page.
Last page.
No, I have a question.
That's missing from my package.
It's missing that too, but it doesn't,
Yes. Oh, is this it?
That's it.
Okay.
Right there. That one's just.
yeah, but no, I understand, yeah. I think the sticking point last month, which correct me if I'm wrong, was that when they mentioned rafters. And I said, you're probably talking about, I was thinking I was thinking that you're thinking something, well, doesn't that mean it won't cantilever over?
Oh,
Is
no,
that would be within the rafters?
it's within the footprint of the rafters for sure.
Right, so that if you would be correct if it cantilevered out over them.
Right, but
So go, no, go ahead. Going to the definition of the half story and reviewing this, and the applicant did go through and review this, and we went over it several times. Sorry. So it has exterior walls at an elevation of 6 feet measured above the attic floor joists, which you can see there. Equal to not more than 50% of the roof of the floor area below. I don't know if this helps you to better.
And it's 19% or something.
And the other thing is, it was less than 6 feet, it wouldn't count as space.
Right.
It wouldn't be in your.
Correct, so this is a little different, because a lot of times we say where you could potentially put a knee wall if you had the perfect picture, like in the diagram that's just there for illustration purposes. This is just a little different, I think, than a lot of them that we've seen, because they don't have that kind of perfect triangle peak. It's more of a, but it, in my opinion, meets the definition. If this was a compliant house, I would approve it administratively as a house for.
If I can just make one comment, and I think Attorney Galante hit on this as well. If we were being asked as part of this application to address a third floor issue, because it was something they needed a variance for, we could be addressing it. I think we're looking at something that's relevant for purposes of this application right now. This is how I'm viewing it.
This is the application.
There's nothing else.
I would like to say, that in the chair's, summary or distillation of council's comments, though you asked him if this was his perspective, the deference to a zoning enforcement officer is not a matter of perspective. It is a matter of how the courts deal with it. So it is better than a perspective. It is the manner in which we take the findings of a zoning enforcement officer, which sometimes.
Unless they're appealed. And this is not
If they were adverse to an applicant, they could take an appeal of it, in which case the board has a more active role in a determination.
Or a
But-
neighbor objecting could take an appeal from it.
I beg your pardon?
Someone objecting to the variance could take an appeal, such as a neighbor,
Absolutely.
anyone withstanding.
It's statutory, absolutely. So, but I just wanted to elevate from a perspective to an actual recognition by the courts of the role of the zoning enforcement officer.
Okay? With no other debate on this, why don't you proceed with your presentation? Unless, did you have anything to add at this point, Nicholas?
Not at this point. I think it was a worthwhile discussion. I would agree with Attorney Chansky's last addition. But yeah, I think with Chris there, you've got, some good insights into, how that regulation should be interpreted.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So if I have the chair again,
You have the floor.
thank you. Oh, the floor.
I think
Yes,
Attorney
exactly.
Vermonte's all
I'm sitting on
set
the
to
chair.
read.
And now I'm back to this second of two letters I'm putting in. The observation by, the Combs that, their endorsement of the renovations and their comment that they are also committed to preserving the open yard on the east side of the property. This assures that neighbors and others passing by will continue to enjoy unobstructed views of the water, which further adds to the charm of our community. So if I can submit these two letters, sir, could I impose on you to pass those down? Thank you. And then also associate that with the finding of coastal consistency, because those are closely aligned concepts. And then, not to belabor this issue, I want to go back to my zoning chart, because we were discussing the elimination of the nonconformity of the street line setback, which is on page 2 of my letter at the top. And that the rear property line setback is conforming, that what you call in the regulation, the other property line setback is the one we're retaining. And that when you get back down to maximum gross floor area, we have a conforming situation, which in the recalculation for the elevation and revision, the maximum gross floor area is now 34.8%, which is even less than it was in my original letter, and the maximum building coverage is going down to 21.3%. It's existing at 22.2%, so it is a reduction of the nonconformity. So we rely on the elimination of nonconformity and the reduction of nonconformity, in addition to all of the other legal support for this request that I've highlighted in my letter, including the right to reconstruct a non-conforming structure. Mrs. Seschel would like to make some comments to the board.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So I just wanted to say a couple of things from more of the personal humanitarian standpoint here of experiencing this process. And I want to thank the board for reviewing our requests, which is, you know, the second time in here. And I know you've devoted some time and effort. So we want, my husband, Betty, and I want to say thank you for your time for this request. I wanted to briefly, very briefly, share some personal information, which we think is important for the board to know in your contemplation. Most everyone here is part of this community, including us. We care deeply about the town. We care deeply about the neighborhoods where we reside. Back in 1955, the year his last grandchild was born, which that would be me, my grandfather, Pasquale Didavo, realized the dream of owning property in his favorite town, Old Saybrook. He sacrificed other things so he could purchase land on Neptune Drive. This town reminded him of his hometown Bari in Italy, which was located near the Adriatic Sea. He wanted to share that similar quaintness and seaside experience with his family for generations to come. He went on to build a tiny summer cottage that his family and then their families and our families and friends enjoyed for decades. My fondest memories are of summers playing with family and friends at Knollwood Beach, riding our bikes, walking to the corner store, which isn't a store anymore, and enjoying frozen treats from the infamous ice cream truck that used to drive up and down Maple Avenue on hot afternoons. As we know, history repeats itself. And of course, my dream was to continue the legacy with my family once Dave and I married. Fast forward to 1997, Dave and I bought the cottage from my dad. And a few years later, we built a lovely home from that tiny little cottage that my grandfather built. We lived in that house every summer and most weekends year round for 17 years. It still stands proudly now. And we are so happy it's being enjoyed and nurtured by another family. In 2014, we moved to Sea Lane. Another lifelong dream was to have a waterfront home. The house we were shown at the time needed some significant TLC, but we saw its potential and renovated it to improve both its look and value. Many neighbors and passersby to this day comment on how they appreciate the improvements to the house and the yard and thereby the neighborhood. And as Marjorie said, we had 9 letters of support. We could have had more, and we got a couple of verbals as well. Our goal was to live in Old Saybrook full-time once I retire. And that is what brings us here today. Our team who are with us tonight, everybody's either in the room or on the phone, have thoughtfully considered all of the regulations and guidelines going beyond maintaining the status quo and actually improving the situation, as Marjorie has stated a few times. We're happy that the plans still show consideration for the environment and include a tasteful house that matches the style of the neighborhood. We are very excited to stay here in Old Saybrook for obvious reasons, but also another dream to live near our only child, David, as he starts his new life. David recently purchased a condo in town and is engaged to be married next year. Again, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, before I close, I wanted to address the comments that Ms. Lyle presented in her letter at the end of the last meeting, which we had not seen prior to the end of the last meeting. And they aren't really germane to the core variance requests, but we appreciate her thoughtful observations and assure the board and her that the proposed driveway will not be paved. There's no increase in imperviousness. In fact, because the house is actually smaller, there's a reduction in imperviousness going on. And there's also an expressed concern about beautiful mature trees and have vegetation on the west side of the property. Nothing is intended to be altered except in connection with the reconstruction of the house. So it is an intention and a plan to retain everything about the landscaping that is able to be retained, notwithstanding the reconstruction, and then to put in additional landscaping when the construction is done. So, so those were the core concerns that seemed to at least dovetail with this board's jurisdiction, and I'm happy to provide that information to assuage whatever her concerns may have been or yours in adopting or reading her letter. So, respectfully, I think the applicant has established its eligibility for the relief that it's requesting, and we hope that you will approve this application.
Does anyone have any questions to address to the applicant?
I'm going through all the materials and listened to all the testimony.
Before we get to comments, I wanted to have questions from. Or should I take the comments first?
So it's just Jonathan, so you asked for the member, the seated member, so he's got some comments when you're ready.
Okay. I'm ready.
Thanks, Chubb. The only question I have, I'm looking at page 1 of the revised elevation. The 2 cupolas, do they open up to the living space?
No.
They
Ms.
don't.
Bradford in the room? Did you hear the question? Yes.
No.
So they're literally sitting on the roof.
Right.
Okay.
Okay,
That's,
I ask what-
Chubb, that's the only question I had, because
all right.
if they open to the living space, in my opinion, they would not be ornamental.
I beg your pardon?
If they open to the living space, in my opinion, they would not be merely ornamental.
They don't open to the living space.
Right.
So if you go to the
Perfect.
zoning regulations, if you
Yeah.
have an ornamental cupola, it's allowed above the 35 feet. But if you have a cupola that's used as living space or some other space, then it's not ornamental and it could be considered a story of
Right.
the house, so.
That's the only question I had, Chubb, and I would
Okay,
ask that
Yeah,
that
just what else
be read
question?
into any motion.
we're still at questions at this point.
Fair.
I just have a question. Is it your opinion, Ms. Jansky, that the lookout is a habitable attic?
That the half story,
That sometimes called a lookout on the drawing, sometimes now called a half story, but is that a habitable attic? And if so, how do you consider that as attic?
if it has adequate headroom under the building code, it would be habitable.
And is it an attic?
Would you like the regulations so
Yes,
that you
thank
could
you.
reference?
Thank you.
So that anything over 6 feet is counted as floor frontage.
I looked up the architectural definition of an attic and it's described as the space between the ceiling beams at the top story and the roof rafters.
The roof rafters from the second floor. For the second floor, and then the half story has its own roof rafters.
That's what makes it a half story.
Right. So that's.
I mean, that's what
over
makes it
6 feet.
that's what makes it a story.
Is this?
But however, it doesn't make it a third story because it's less than 50% of the
I know.
square footage on the third.
We can, I can hear all the time.
Okay.
That's fine.
We could move on. There's no point. And, so I'd now like to turn it
I
over
beg your pardon, you're saying there's no point because it's not germane to the issue of conformity.
Oh. If you have a take on attic that is different from mine, I welcome it.
Well, I'd like to know more about what your concern is.
Well, my concern is that the code defines a half story as a habitable attic. That's the first step in the process. And I wondered whether what's your view of what is a habitable attic? It's not defined in the code.
Yeah. Citing to Mr. Attorney Belmonte, let's just take the words as we find them. I'm within the height, I'm within the definition of half story, and I'm not sure why it's germane, and if I meet the building code and have adequate headroom, I can be in it.
Okay. So is there anything you want it to be?
Well, it's anything that I want in the definitions of the old Saybrook zoning regulations.
Which don't define, they don't define attic, but that's okay.
They do define attic, not habitable attic.
What's the
attic and
definition of attic?
Attic is, sorry, I loaned out my
Attic
regulations.
is the space between the ceiling beams of the top story and the roof rafters. So
Right.
I'm not sure this is an attic in that sense, but it may be a habitable attic under the half-story definition. And then, we should tell the zoning commission that, and they can try to tidy that up, but I have a height conforming, half-story conforming proposal that meets the regulations
Thank you.
without relief.
Thank you.
It's conforming, yeah.
Okay, back to,
I beg your pardon. Do you have an issue with it, Ms. Zoning Enforcement Officer?
No. I agree that the wording could be worked on, because not everything that is a half story is necessarily an attic. It could also be an uninhabitable attic. I mean, we could go on and on and on.
and it could be a block half the size of the floor below it, in your
But-
interpretation.
I will say this,
Right.
that the
Am I right?
law. The
I'm
law,
sorry, I was addressing a question to the
What do
zoning.
you mean a block before?
A big square cube. That's just half the size of the floor below. That would be that
Well,
would
it
be,
doesn't have any angles or anything required to it. You're right. I think it could use some work. I agree with you. It's not a perfect definition. I think.
and the visual aid that they give doesn't help either.
it's,
The visual aid was just for demonstration purposes, not every possible situation.
Of
So
course.
that was the perfect cube of a house with the perfect triangle roof on the top of it.
I would also say that from a legal perspective, zoning is in derogation of the common law. It imposes a restraint on property rights. And the law provides that it is to be construed in favor of the landowner. Because property rights, the bundle of sticks that comprise property rights, are the most important aspects of private property ownership. So if the chair thinks that this is ambiguous or indeterminate, we construe in favor of the property owner. We've demonstrated a design that meets the definitions, that may be less encumbered by ambiguity or vagueness, and submit that we provided something eligible for your approval.
Any other questions? By members of the commission? The zoning board.
I have no questions, to make motion to.
Is there anyone in the live audience wishing to speak for or against the application? If so, please raise your hand. Is there anyone in, oh, I'm sorry,
I'd like to see you proceed with a vote, and I think they should go ahead.
please come forward.
My name is Greg Rose, and I live in Cornfield Point. I would like to see the chapter granted.
Okay.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Is there anyone in the virtual audience wishing to speak for or against the proposal? If so, please raise your hand. Okay, I'd like to close the public hearing, move to. Yes,
Just as a matter of housekeeping, we have one voting member who is on Zoom. And I just want to make sure that Commissioner Miles was able to see everything or was read everything tonight that was Attorney Shansky obviously read, I just want to make sure. So a lot of times applicants will go through and they'll share the screen if we have a voting member. But sometimes you just want to make sure you've seen everything that was
100%, Chris, I'm
distributed or
good.
was read to you, that you feel comfortable to participate in the vote.
100%, Chris, thank you.
Okay, now, close the public hearing, move to discussion and action. I invite a motion with respect to,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve 25-26 9C 14C Lane. And we have had a lot of testimony, a lot of exhibits on this particular appeal. Many attorneys pointed out to us. Pratt has approved this. EEP finds this application consistent. We look at the reductions in nonconformity and the elimination of nonconformity. The street line setback eliminated the nonconformity. The building coverage has been reduced, even though it's a new house, it's gonna be a little bit smaller. We've also decided a lot to, keep the view from the neighbors. Another application with overwhelming neighbor support. And I'd like to, call on the record the latest we have a site plan. Summerhill Civil Engineers. From 9/1/25. And. Well, I mean, this is one that,
That's the base survey. Utilize the data, base survey or dates, I'm sorry.
okay, Richard Gates, not July 8th, 25,
No revisions.
no revisions. And as far as the architectural drawings. I believe I'm seeing
There's no revision date on it, but it is
I didn't see a firm name on this. But this would be, it's not for building anyway, it'd be for DBA review. Oh, there it is, where the home designing services limited. With no
Kevin, do we
date.
want to get, since the architect is there, do we want, obviously there were revisions made since last meeting. Since the architect is there, why don't we get an actual date that these were printed? So you can
so
read
the
it
public hearing is closed, so you can't have communications with the applicant at this
in.
point.
All right,
Basically, we have,
However, we do have the revised plans that came with the letter that was.
we mark them exhibits A through whatever they are. And that way,
fair
there's
enough.
I can mark them for the record. The last sheet of that was the one with the.
no, that's just like, I already did that. I did. The revision date on the Summerhill
The summer home,
plan is actually 9/1/25.
right.
So that came with Attorney Chansky's letter that was revised to November 4th. It is separated. However, since sometimes documents do separate, I will mark for the record the one that was received with that, with the cross section there for November 4th.
That works for me.
Because there's no plan revisions. I'd also suggest maybe you would add since there's a coastal site plan application, that the application is consistent with all
Just where the non-conforming reductions are.
applicable coastal policies and meets all reasonable measures to mitigate adverse impacts.
This is a camp, right?
Yes.
My motion is complete at this point.
I knew you were thinking that. Right.
All right,
Yeah, Kevin, can we add that caveat with the two cupolas, please?
I can't hear you, John.
Can we add the caveat with the two cupolas being only ornamental and not open to the living space?
Well, if it was, John, if it's over 6 feet, under 6 feet, it wouldn't count as floor area anyway.
So not to get all wrapped up in this, when you get to the 35 feet, you can only have an ornamental cupola, any part of it that goes over 35 feet. It's allowed for a cupola. If it was a structure, it wouldn't be allowed because sections of it are 35. So I would
That's my
just
point.
say that the cupola is
Ornamental.
ornamental.
It was never been.
The friendly amendment is accepted.
Thank you, sir.
So I'm trying to keep this.
okay, there is a motion, is there a second? Okay, any discussion? Yes,
I don't have any discussion.
I do. I appreciate the efforts that have gone into and the thought behind the reductions in nonconformity, and you have a lovely house. I appreciate the respect that is due the zoning enforcement officer and the advice of counsel to that effect. But I also can read words and look at pictures. And I read the words here and look around town, and I don't see anything like this. At least not in these zoning codes. We see 3 stories in limited parts of town where they are permitted by the code. But in my view, there is no way that you can say that this is a space between the ceiling beams at the top story and the roof rafters. This is poking out above the roof rafters plainly. And it is not a decorative cupola. It is a observation room, a tower, as it were, a very small 3rd story. I appreciate also that there is no appeal before us of your ruling. And so I cannot ground an objection to this on my bare interpretation. But every variance also requires the zoning board of appeal to conclude that the variance requested is not in accordance with the comprehensive plan of zoning. And the way I read our comprehensive plan of zoning, we don't have 3rd stories, except in very small, communities.
But don't you think it's clear that it says a 3rd story, or the 2.5 stories is the top story is 50% or less of the story below it? And if it's over 6 feet high and it's under 35 feet in totality.
But Kevin, that's my point. If all that the zoning commission was concerned about was that the 3rd floor not be more than 50% of the size of the floor below it, they could have just said that and it would have been easy. But they went much further and they had drawings to depict what they were trying to communicate when they used the word attic, when they used the word within the roof beams. And this is plainly not within the roof beams.
But
so all I'm going to do is vote against it.
okay, well, that's your.
Because I want the community to on notice at least that this is my interpretation.
And that's fine, but our charge is not necessarily as a zoning board of appeals, isn't to stick with every regulation, but we can vary from the regulations, and that's why they call it a variance.
Sure.
That's.
No, and just if it weren't for that one point, I would think this is great. But I do think that it's important that we don't have 3rd floors in Old Saybrook, except in the areas where they're zoned to be permitted.
But if they came in a whole 3rd floor, as you call it, and what brought this on was last month is because it was mislabeled as a third floor. And, us that, we've been around long enough where we know we don't allow third floors, and it's less than 50%. I mean, when you say it's not around town, it absolutely is. It's absolutely around town. You see a third floor with a couple dormers in it, and it's over 6 feet. Chances are they aren't just storing their Christmas tree up there. So I'm not trying to sway your opinion. I'm just showing, giving you other examples. Sure.
Maybe that's a discussion for another, meeting. Some recommendations to the zoning commission on how the regulation can get tightened up. I agree with you.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the application signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Unless you need me, I'm gonna go back upstairs and continue working on whatever he signed.
This is weekend.
Go six, go home.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I was glad you were there.
I'll just.
Okay. Yes, I'm over here. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Next time I'm on the other side, we have different opinions and you're entitled to your opinion.
Sure, everybody is. I just wanted out there because make it. Okay, I call for public hearing. Application 25/26-10, William and Kristen DeCapua. Requesting a variance of paragraphs 10.7.1, 10.7.2, 22.5.3, respecting 208 Schoolhouse Road, Old Saybrook.
Who was sitting for this?
Sitting for this will be the 3 regular members, and why don't we mix it up and have the 2 alternates who are in the room. That would be Mr. Morosky, just to meet them. Who is here on behalf of William and Kristen DeCapua? Kristen,
Hi.
Hello.
Here on Zoom.
All right,
Okay.
the floor
Hello.
is yours.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank-
the floor
thank you.
is yours.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you remotely tonight. I'm currently in Washington, D.C. for work. And my husband, Bill DeCapua, and our building, Greg Neely, are present in the room with you at the meeting. We are here to request a variance to replace our existing deck with a new structure that includes a screened-in porch on 3 sides. The current deck is at least 23 years old. It was part of our home when we purchased it in 2003, and it was not new at that time. Aside from repairing the rear staircase, we have not made any updates to the deck since moving in. Our home is small in size. It's just over 1,200 square feet, including our finished basement. Adding this 3-seasoned enclosed porch would allow us to extend our limited living space and enjoy the outdoors in a more functional and comfortable way. We are requesting a variance because the proposed structure does not meet the required 20-foot setback from the side property line. However, we are not expanding the footprint of the deck. And the new structure would only cover half of the existing deck, specifically 12 feet by 14 feet of the current 12 by 28 foot deck. We plan to leave the rear portion open just as it is currently. There are several factors contributing to our hardship. Our lot is only 0.42 acres, which is more than 50% smaller than all other lots on Schoolhouse Road and in the surrounding neighborhoods. We have a corner lot with a diagonal side property line, which places the current setback line through the existing deck. And the deck currently sits between 1 foot 3 inches and 2 foot 5 inches from the setback line. The house was originally part of a 2-home condo association with the property behind us at 3 Kittredge Hill. In 2003, the town approved the dissolution of that association. allowing the previous owners to sell the home to us. And since then, we've maintained the property without any major changes. We do have an old driveway on the side of the house and a CL&P or Eversource feeder pole that provides electricity to the house behind us. They have access to that pole, and changing our infrastructure, or the infrastructure remains unchanged and accessible to Eversource. We believe this modest improvement will enhance the livability of our home without negatively impacting the neighborhood or surrounding properties. We're committed to maintaining the character of our home and the community, and we're not seeking to expand the deck, only to improve and partially enclose it. And just thank you for your time and consideration, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Could you tell me where your septic system is? Is it in the backyard?
We actually have two septic systems at our house. We have one in the backyard and one on the side, on the other side of the deck.
Okay. Near the garage.
No, it's on the other side of the deck.
Oh, I do, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Any
I do
other
not know
questions?
why it's set up that way, but we have to.
Any questions? Is
I,
the,
I have, I actually do. I'm sorry to interrupt. Can everyone hear me?
yes,
Go ahead, John.
Is this a prefabricated unit that you're placing on top of the structure?
No, it's not prefabricated.
It's not.
Nope.
What's the difference between the setback? Is that like 3.5 feet? 4 feet? So to be conforming right now, what do I have to go back from the existing deck back to be conforming?
For
Like
the.
towards the existing house?
3 feet.
Yeah, 3 feet. Why can't we just do that and be 100%?
Do you mean like cut the deck by 3 feet?
Right, but you're ripping the deck off and rebuilding this new
We're-
structure.
We're not ripping the whole deck off. We're replacing the floorboards. We're leaving the footing of the deck and Greg might be able to say it better than me, but we're leaving the footprint of the deck and just replacing the deck boards, and then adding the structure.
Okay,
So we're not replacing the pilings or any of the structure below the deck.
okay.
And so if we were to go back the 3 feet, we would actually have to cut the deck, and then the pilings underneath would be an
understand.
issue. Yeah.
I completely understand. I've been in the business for about 30 years, so I understand where you're coming from. So you're literally framing on top of the existing deck as it stands now.
Correct. And just replacing the deck boards because they were pretty old and rotted.
Okay, to make it a 3-season porch, are you insulating the floor?
No.
Okay. All right, let me ruminate on this, but thank you for answering my questions.
Okay.
question? This looks like it's screening material in the drawings. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay, you called it a 3-season room. I think of, panels that you can put in that, would be like glass.
Oh, no. No, it's just screening.
So it's a summer porch. I wouldn't necessarily call it a 3-season porch.
Okay.
No, I'm splitting hairs right now, but a 3-season would be, to Chubb's point, where you can actually replace the screen with glass, non-heated, and bundle up a little bit and enjoy it in the fall, in the spring.
Right. Yeah. We don't have any plans for any glass.
Is that where you're going with that, Chubb?
That's what I was questioning.
This is a screened in porch. It's not a 3-season porch.
Whether they're with a screen porch or a three-season porch.
Makes no difference to me, yeah.
Well, the reason it doesn't make a difference to me is they're not making the footprint any bigger.
Yep, I agree with you.
Where they could come off a different side of the house and make something 4 times as big.
Yep,
It's really a small ask. It's a pre-existing structure. It's 3 feet. It's not like they're, bringing it 2 feet from the line or enlarging what they already have. So, I mean,
here's where I'm going with this. Okay,
Yeah.
I have zero issue with the piers being where they are. Kristen, with all due respect, with the age of the house, I would rip all the framing out, leave the
Yeah.
piers in place and reframe the entire thing. Okay, at that point,
Yeah.
in kind, by that, I mean, don't go further off the house. Exactly
Yeah.
how it is right now, but I would reframe the entire thing before I put anything on top of it.
yeah, see, no disrespect, John, but that's really the building department's call. They go out
I
there.
agree, it was just a friendly
I think-
conversation between my friend Kristen and myself.
So, and whether it's 3-season or summer, I really don't.
I was only thinking about,
Because I
Listen,
would,
actually, for
was-
the record, I've never met Kristen in my life, so I was just using friendly.
Yeah. No, it's okay, because if they get this and they love it, and they've got a small house on a small lot, they're
Yep.
not expanding the footprint, if they wanna put glass panels in there, I don't think we should restrict them from doing it.
I
Because that
agree. I
encourages
agree.
behavior that they would do it anyway, and then we'd have another problem, so I think we can be reasonable, and I think we all do wanna be reasonable.
Of
So,
course.
also come back, oh, I wanna put glass in it, now we got another deal. So I wouldn't be in favor of conditioning it, that it's just a,
No,
You know,
it's semantics, Kevin. It's semantics.
yeah, okay,
You know, screened in porch, 3-season porch, who cares? They're not going outside the footprint.
right.
They may be able to tolerate sitting out there in the fall and spring, or we could say.
Yeah, except for this week.
Yes, yeah. We couldn't, but that doesn't mean everybody else can.
Yeah, we don't have any intention of sitting out there in the winter. It's just to have a little bit of extra time outside and some protection from the trees over there.
right, if there are no other questions, I'd like to open it for contribution by the public. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak for or against this application? Is there anyone in the virtual audience wishing to speak for or against the application? Please raise your hand. None raised, correct? None.
Nope.
All right, I close the public hearing and move to discussion and action.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve 2526-10. They say they have 2 septic systems, and to ask them to move their deck to the back and move the septic system would be unreasonable. The deck is an existing structure. And they're not making the footprint any bigger. So I think just the fact that to ask them to put it somewhere else, and have to move the septic system would be unreasonable. And I
Any
will
discussion?
note and whether it's for their 3-season porch. The drawings that we have have been submitted with the application, which are not labeled or such. The survey dated October 1st, 25, Robert C. Simone. Just one sheet.
Any discussion? And is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous? Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Good luck, Kristen.
Okay, thank you. Good night.
Would anyone like a break? Should we just stick to the last one? Huh? Would anyone like a recess or should we move to
I'd
the
say
list?
let's push right through it.
Let's push
Come
ahead.
on, let's go.
You know.
Okay,
Nice to have it empty.
okay, I called 25/26-11 Jody Kelly, seeking a variance in paragraphs 10.7.1, 10.7.2, and paragraph 24.5.1 with respect to 24 Soundview Avenue.
Who's seated for that?
Seated for this will be the, let's see, the three regular members, and for alternates, Andrew and Jonathan.
Thank you.
Chubb, you make me nervous when you call me Jonathan. It's like my mother's talking to me.
All right, Ms. Kelly, the floor is yours.
I have, let me just, before you start. I was a little bit confused because on your plan, it says 24 with the proposed dormer, and on your application, it says 26.
Oh, we own the house next door. That's where our mail goes to 26.
Okay, so we're still talking about, even though, okay, it does say, I'm sorry,
that's
I
okay.
apologize, now I see it.
Bob Simone did the survey for both at the same time.
Oh, it's a bit confusing because they're both on one page. So, thank you, everybody. This is such an interesting procedure. I feel like a kindergartner in some law office. I have no idea what half of the things you do, but I really appreciate all of the work that's going on in this room. It's quite entertaining as well. It should be a
Oh, you
show
can
that-
see our Nielsen ratings.
Yeah, literally, you should see it from our point of view.
I put this thing on YouTube, you get a lot of viewers on there.
We're gonna be streaming. So I feel a little bit less formal. Forgive me for that. I've got literally pencil drawings in my notebook.
Whatever you gotta do, it's not, we don't expect you, have a lot of.
Right.
So like that.
Well, we're here to ask for a variance. We have a little 1928 cottage on Soundview Avenue. It's one of the older homes in the neighborhood, and as so, it's built closer to the street than the current zoning permits. So this prohibits any use of that whole front area of the house because the pitch is so long in the front. I think it's called a New Englander house, where one side is really long and one is a little bit shorter. So we're here to ask, because of this pitch, we would love to have, see how I'm not as formal as sorry. Consideration of being able to access it through a shed dormer on the front. We are not asking to change the original footprint of the house or the elevation of the house. Everything stays the same. It just increases the ventilation and light in the two rooms in the front. Was that?
This is easy.
Does anyone, any commissioner have any questions for the applicant?
Looking at,
So we put some ChatGPT pictures in to sort of show what it might be behind it.
I love it. I could,
Yeah.
yeah, I could see that.
It can be.
If anybody wants to hire me for, drinks, I'm for hire.
I see in this appeal, the septic in the distribution box in the dry well off the back of the property. Wrong, I'm over at 26, because I've got that locked in my head, but your septic tank is behind the house too. You're not making the footprint any bigger.
Right.
And not adding a bathroom upstairs.
With that?
No, you're not adding a bathroom upstairs. You're just making the second floor more livable.
Yeah, there's a storage, crawl space area that we just want to be able to use that's already there. It's in one of the pictures, you can see it.
Oh, yeah, you can clearly see it. You're gonna need that once you turn the second floor into a livable space. Yeah, but that's in the footprint, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, am I missing something, Kevin?
Well, they're adding bulk, and it's in a non-conforming area, but that happens to be where the house is located.
Right.
they're entitled to live in their house. We would hope they do so healthfully.
It's so interesting. It's almost like a reverse Cape Cod.
Yeah,
And light, they're very dark, not that.
ventilation is a big deal for sure.
I think the general design you were looking for was a New England salt box with that long sloping roof, and you want to put a shed in it to actually improve the appearance and improve the livability.
Right.
Chuck,
Typically-
yes, it's like a reverse salt box. Thank you for clarifying that. It'd be interesting to know if the street used to be on the other side of the house, because that's
Typically, yes.
usually how they face.
Yeah.
I don't really have any questions. I don't.
I don't either.
Neither do I.
All
I think it
right.
looks great.
Thank you.
I would ask if there's anyone in the audience wishing to speak for or against the application.
If you don't mind, I'd like to speak for the application.
Sure.
Hi, Ed Maynard, I'm a neighbor,
Uh-huh.
and these two lovely people look like been a real plus for the neighborhood. They take great care of the properties, good stewards. And I would like to see, the application go forward. Pretty much everybody on the street at one point or another has had to come before the board for the same reasons. We're all built too close to the
Sure.
and on Hill Street and occasionally on Clinton Avenue, so. But I think it would be a plus for the neighborhood and definitely a plus for these guys.
Do you need the address, Karen?
I have the name, so the address,
Oh,
yeah,
I'm sorry, London Sound View,
I'll add it in.
across the street. They're not blocking my view. A different story.
Be right as pitchfork. Is there anyone in the virtual audience wishing to speak for or against the application? Please raise your hand.
Just me out here, Chubb.
Okay. Karen,
Nobody, there's one person, but no hands.
okay.
Oh, sorry.
I will close the public hearing and move to discussion and action. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve 25/26-11 24 Soundview Avenue. Was it tongue tied? Looking at the ask and looking what we're working with here. It's another small, long, deep lot with a very small frontage. So that's certainly a hardship, the long shape and where the house was built too close to the road. We also have the issue with, even if they wanted to add space on the back, we get closer to the septic system and which would not be, probably as well liked as Crowd would like to see. And they're not going out of their footprint, so I think it's a good suggestion or good plan.
But certainly in accordance with the comprehensive plan of zoning.
It is, yeah. Also, yeah, I'm just looking at the CRED application with no increase in flow.
Same number of bedrooms.
Basically, that's all I have.
I'll second that motion because I think it adds, it makes the house. It's a great improvement over what they're from street view, what they're looking at now. It dramatically improves it. I will second
Yes.
that motion.
I will observe that having driven by, I'll have difficulty finding it. But I,
You end up in Tucker Beach.
all right. If there's no other discussion, all in favor?
Is there a second? Oh, definitely John did, yeah.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right, you have meeting minutes. I invite a motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
Done that. it's gonna find it as a fire. Karen and I spoke about this and.
Was so long ago, I don't remember.
Is there a form that we pick up that is approved, or how does that work next?
So it'll go into, don't quote me on this, but it goes and gets advertised in the paper and then people have, I believe, 15 days to appeal it. And then you can go upstairs to zoning and get your certificate of zoning compliance. And with the health approval, so it's a separate sheet, so you're starting from scratch. Like you wouldn't have needed a variance, so you have the variance part done, then you go up to get the CZC and then go to building.
So we start with zoning, what's that?
Come see me. Come see me.
How long does that last, the approval?
So you have 2 years until the date of approval to have building start.
Well, thank you for doing everything you do to keep the town lovely.
We got lots of help.
So I can really remember what my problem was.
I don't need that.
It was on Spencer Plains Road.
Yeah, we only have three, two of which were continued to tonight.
Right, well, Spencer Plains Road,
That was that sign.
the sign, part of my motion, and then there was discussion, but the motion was never altered or changed. Where one of the conditions was, all the other conditions are perfect, but the condition it wasn't included is if the road is ever widened, that the property owner would pay to move the sign back proportionately. That way, the taxpayer wouldn't end up paying to do that. We've accommodated them with a variance.
Right.
So if the road gets widened with the entrance and exit ramps, there very possibly could. So my thought was that if they do widen the road, that it's a property owner's burden to pay to move it back, but they would proportionate. So if they widen the road 25 feet and the sign has to go back 25 feet, that's at the cost of the property owner.
Was that discussed at the meeting?
That was,
It-
yeah, it was part of it.
It just
Yeah, I
didn't-
remember, I distinctly remember Kevin saying that.
Yeah,
It was discussed, but there was uncertainty about whether it was.
No, Joe
someone-
Wren actually popped in, he shared his opinion. The likelihood of Spencer Plains being widened, slim to none.
Yes,
However,
Take it
Kevin,
out of them.
Well, I never took it out of motion, and the reason I'm saying that is I've owned many commercial properties. And I've gone through street widenings in many different places. So when they come out and they send, they send you a big check to do this.
Yeah.
Which I was very happy to accept several times. And then I'd call my own contractor to move the signs back at a fraction of the cost. So knowing that exists, I just didn't want to see the old Saybrook taxpayers have to share that burden.
can you just click, so I have here, add if the road is widened, the owner will pay to relocate, how do you wanna word that?
I should just check back in my emails I sent you,
Okay,
and it's in there. It's actually,
It's a state road, so
if we keep talking, I'll find it, but there's so much.
I just wanna make sure I get it exactly correctly, you want it there.
Paying for that. No. No. Yes, it's not in any of our lifetimes.
I can check the email if I have a question, I can ask it, just wanna make sure that I get it worded correctly.
In my email, I said. The motion also added as conditions, if the road is ever widened, the buyer, really property owner. Will at their expense move the sign back proportionately.
Can I have that? Okay, thank you.
Paying proportionally, not moving it back, paying for the proportional.
If they move this, if the road is widened 25 feet, and they've got to move the sign back 25 feet. The property owner pays to do that, not the taxpayers.
I just want to make sure it's proportional.
Kevin, so that we don't quibble over what proportionate we may mean in the future, why don't we just say an equal amount?
No,
It's the-
proportionally, if they're, right now, if their setback from the state right away is 15 feet, to Kevin's point. If the state widens that road 25 feet, they're gonna go back 40 feet from
40 feet.
where they are, well, from the right away now. Yeah,
Compliant with zoning with zoning
Right.
regulations instead of proportionate. maybe.
And the other thing is, we don't want to see them be able to have the sign 5 feet off the road either.
Right.
I don't think that's a good idea.
No.
You
but
keep
they
that
have
in
to-
law.
I wrote it word for word for in
Okay.
your quotations.
Okay. If there are no other amendments or corrections, may we have a vote? Oh, okay.
One correction on the page 3, the third to last word should be effect, not effect.
Thank you, sorry.
Minor, but I did read the minutes.
It's, thank you. I spend lots of hard working time to put them together.
With those corrections, shall we have a vote? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Who is seated for the voting on the
yeah,
minutes?
that was my question too. I
Yeah.
think
Oh,
I was there. Was I seated though?
okay.
Everybody's
Also is
there.
seated for-
I'll
John
see,
seated himself.
I'll see Lori. No, Andrew had a correction, so I'll see Andrew. And Jonathan. Okay,
We only need 2 of those.
Yeah. I think
We only need 2 instead of 3.
Three already.
John and I.
Jonathan and, okay,
Andrews.
Andrew, thank you, sorry.
um. I invite a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
I second.
Thank you.
Stay seated for the adjournment.